Hello everyone. This Earth Day, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Munira Raji, an accomplished interdisciplinary geoscientist, to our webinar today. Dr. Raji is a dynamic force in the world of sustainable energy and geology, currently contributing her expertise at the Sustainable Earth Institute. Not only she is a key member of United Nations Economic Commission of Europe's task force on just energy transition, but she also plays an influential role in energy group of the Geological Society of London. We are excited to hear from Dr. Razi as she shares her insight in the future of energy and sustainability. We welcome you, ma'am.
Sure, thank you. So my career started in geology. I have a geoscience background. I have a BSc in geology from the University of Portsmouth, a master's degree in petroleum geoscience from the University of Derby, and a PhD in geological science from the University of Durham, all in the UK. So for years, I've worked on doing just geoscience research around geochemistry and organic petrology of shale and coal. And then I started doing work around fracking of unconventional oil, shale oil and gas. And but over the years, I've learned about climate change and the urgent need for us to move from fossil fuel to renewable energy. So I then decided to change my focus from oil and gas to sustainable science. And that's just sustainable science involves application of science knowledge. You already have the knowledge and expertise to address societal and global challenges like water security, energy security, climate change, environmental degradation, geological hazards. All of that you can use geoscience knowledge to help you address some of these challenges. So I decided to become a sustainable science. And then over the years, I then realized you can't, no country or no nation can solve all of these challenges alone. So I became interested in science diplomacy, which is bringing countries or people together, scientists together to solve these challenges. And so that's my background. And currently I have some certificate in science diplomacy, and I'm right now almost finishing another master program in global climate or energy and climate policy at University of London. So I'll be finishing that in October. And I'm doing that because I just don't want to be a scientist. I also want to be involved in policy. So I need that knowledge to be able to be part of policy discourse around global policy and climate discourse in the future. So that's why I'm doing that. And so that's my background essentially. So currently I work at the University of Plymouth as a sustainable science and science diplomacy research fellow. And most of my work is around looking for solution for renewable energy. So I do work on floating offshore wind, geothermal energy, and then I help my colleagues and other people who work around science policy and diplomacy to build relationship with other universities, especially in the global south. So that's my background. That's what I do now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You're a veteran in this field and you have a lot of experience. And we are glad we have invited you because we have a lot to learn from you. In the next few minutes, ma'am, we'll be interested in knowing some questions, answers of some questions related to renewable energy transition, their effect on local communities, and the dynamics of energy transition. Since you're a veteran in this field, we would like to know how is renewable energy actually reshaping the global response to climate change and reducing the global carbon emissions?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. We all know now that renewable energy is central to the global decarbonization agenda. If you go to any country now, everyone has an agenda around renewable energy, around decarbonizing their economy, because renewable energy offers a direct pathway for us to reduce our carbon emission from electricity, industry, and the transport. These three sectors are mostly responsible for the bulk global CO2 emission. So renewable energy is at the heart of this global fight about climate change. So it's helping us to cut down our carbon emission by using technology like solar, hydro, wind, and green hydrogen, and replacing those technology with fossil fuel. So renewable energy basically is helping the everyone in the world globally to sort of shift it from fossil fuel to more cleaner, cheaper, and more reliable energy. And renewable energy isn't just doing that, isn't just reducing emission, it's helping a lot of countries that still don't have energy security to be able to develop a new way of energy for their country so they can produce clean energy instead of going back to producing energy from coal or from fossil fuel. So it's really helping a lot of countries to take control of their energy future, which is very good.
Yes, ma'am. So, how do you think the demand for renewable energy will evolve in different regions, especially the developing countries, and what opportunities does this create for these countries?
Oh, that sounds very good because the demand, like I said, is growing fast, rapidly globally. Everyone is talking about renewable energy in different regions, in different continents. But in some of these developing countries, especially across Africa, renewable energy development is still very slow. And because for them, it's not just about the climate goal, it's about trying to get electricity and clean cooking to support their own citizens, their own population. So, for example, in sub-Saharan Africa, we have over 600 million people still do not have access to clean energy, clean electricity. And but these countries also have solar, they have a vast amount of solar, they have wind, hydro, and geothermal resources. But developing these resources requires a lot of capital that most of these countries don't have, or even the technology or the expertise to do that. So in other regions, renewable energy is growing rapidly, but in some other region like sub-Saharan Africa and Asian countries, this it's still it's still very slow. So the primary challenge is not just the capital; they need infrastructures to develop these resources, and so I guess the solution for that to work is for us to have a sort of a just energy transition plan, investment fund, and sort of like a partnership with these countries, developing countries, and in the developing countries still struggling to develop their own energy resources to help each other so that no country is left behind eventually when we eventually decide to fully transition into renewable energy. So yeah, it's happening in a lot of other countries rapidly, but in other regions it's still very slow. So yeah, it's yeah.
You raise a very good point that there is a disparity between different countries. So, how can science diplomacy be used more effectively to foster international cooperation on renewable energy technologies, standards, and the investment for this?
Oh, that's a very good point. I mean, before now, diplomacy used to be about government of different countries coming together to talk about trade agreement, talk about building relationship. But now, individuals like you and myself, from scientists, come together now to work across borders to to develop research around renewable energy, climate change, just so they can collaborate and promote or knowledge exchange, technology between themselves, between scientists, governments, investors. So science diplomacy has been very, very useful in trying to bring people together to promote research around climate change and renewable energy. And so, for example, I've been involved in a few science diplomacy initiative between Global South and Global North, Nigeria and Ghana, for example. And what we do is to bring people together to share knowledge, best practice that works in other country, and make sure that the knowledge is shared between scientists, build joint research collaboration around projects, so that countries that have already developed their capacity for renewable energy can help other countries that are still coming up, still developing their research to be able to get to that stage where they can do research and development and work on their own renewable energy system. So that's the goal of science diplomacy, is just bringing people together, scientists, individual, government, multilateral organizations together to be able to develop a project around any kind of research around science research and in this case energy diplomacy. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how important it is. Yeah.
And ma'am, you yourself are a part of a very esteemed organization. As someone involved in United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, just energy transition work, how can a renewable energy shift be designed to benefit vulnerable communities, especially in these fossil fuel dependent regions?
That's really good because a lot of people don't think about that about all these region that have sort of dependent that dependent on fossil fuel in the past, and these regions are the regions that really help to industrialize many of the developed world. So, but we can't leave this region behind. And so some of the work we do at the UNC Task Force on just co-bed meeting and just energy transition is to do to promote a model around just energy transition, which means we can't leave this community behind because most of them, this coal, for example, was their livelihood. Fossil fuel, as another example, was their community, their economy is tied to fossil fuel and coal. So we can't leave those community and those countries behind. So through my involvement with this UN Economic Commission of Europe group of experts, task force on COVID meeting and just solution, we promote that we promote this model where we think just transition shouldn't be about just the country, it should be about the people in the community. So we want the community we want the model to be centered around community. So retraining and reskilling for example, I used to work for an oil company, but I had to retrain and reskill myself to work in sustainable energy. So we're trying to build a model where people can retrain and reskill in renewable energy sectors. Communities can have ownership of renewable energy project. If you want community involvement, you need to make sure they have ownership in that project. We want we want targeted community, for example, a coal region in somewhere around Europe to be turned into a center where they become center for hydrogen, center for wind energy, center for geothermal energy. So when you begin to how do you put this? And when you begin to see that renewable energy shouldn't just be about what the countries can get, it's about what the communities can benefit from this transition. You can't just, for example, going down to cut out trees to build a renewable energy center when the communities are going to suffer from all of that inconvenience. You can't just do that. So you need a community to be involved in that sort of transition. So yeah, that's what we do there, just to promote what it means to be for us to have a just energy transition. It needs to be people-centered.
Yeah. And ma'am, you have actually talked about how these vulnerable communities can be benefited. We have talked about how science can play a role in that. So, the we are talking about organizations, but do you also think that there is a role of local communities, youth, non-state actors, and individuals which they can play in advancing the renewable energy transition and clean energy adoption?
Absolutely. I mean, they play a huge part. Local communities, like I just said previously, and the youth and non-state actors play a big role in the energy transition because they are the implementer, they are the innovators, and they advocate for that in real life because they use this on ground. So you need their buy-in. For example, are leading climate campaign. When you see a lot of campaign around climate change, it's led by youths, and they're helping us shape the future of energy policy. Local communities, or you go to a community, you see them installing solar panels, creating energy cooperation among themselves because they are interested in promoting that on ground. And also non-state actors like universities, NGOs, really even religion organizations help to raise awareness and build trust around renewable energy. So sometimes government can reach this community themselves. So they need to use non-state actors, the youth, the local community leaders to get to that, to get to implement renewable energy projects. So yes, those individuals you mentioned, the youth, individuals like you and I, non-state actors, regional organizations also really help in promoting implementation of renewable energy resource. So we need to support them by making sure we have education campaign around clean energy and climate change policy that makes sure that will make sure we get their voice. We put what's it called? We policy that makes sure that the voice we I don't know the right word for this, like inclusive policy basically, that
Yeah,
makes sure we understand yeah, we listen to them, what they want,
yeah,
we train them what on some of the skills that they don't have, and then we make sure they sit on the table when we're making global climate or energy policy. That's the way we
yeah,
can support. Yeah,
yeah. That's these were really important points. Like if big organizations and even the government should focus on these things, that they should tell people, tell these individuals and on-site actors what they can do. This is
yeah,
and how can we prepare them to take actions in the future? Yeah.
exactly. You
So,
support them. Yeah.
what's your perspective on the geopolitics of critical minerals, which are needed for renewables, and how can African nations ensure fair value and strategic partnership in this supply chain?
Yeah, thank you. That's another interesting question because I do work around critical mineral as well. So critical mineral like lithium, cobalt, and rare earths are all of these minerals are essential for renewable energy technology, like the one we've just discussed. And so because of that, these minerals resort to different geopolitical tensions among country and economic risks. So African, for example, have huge amount of these critical mineral resources. But I guess my advice is the danger of sort of repeating the same mistake of the colonial past of countries coming into African countries and taking over their minerals and then exporting those minerals back to their own country to develop their own economy like they did before. I think we shouldn't repeat that mistake anymore.
Yeah,
So my belief is that African countries are wiser now. So instead of becoming exporter of critical minerals to China, to the US, or to even to Europe, African countries need to strategically think about developing this critical mineral resources in their own countries, um, partnering with countries that already are involved in developing, turning this critical mineral into renewable energy technology, and then making sure that these minerals don't leave their country. So you come, if you want to be partners with them, you bring all your technology, you bring all your people down to that country, develop their renewable energy infrastructures and technology there. So that for me, I think that's the best way to strategically become for African countries and even Asian countries um, um, to become leaders in global energy.
yeah, and
So
they
you
can
don't just,
value uh, their
yeah,
critical minerals which they have. Like they can have their own share, good share of value.
yeah, exactly. Better than just sending it outside your country. And then when they send these minerals outside this country, these same African countries would still then import those technology back to their country at a huge cost to them.
And
So
to use a good term of the colonial past, which has actually happened uh, in the past.
exactly, yeah, exactly. So we don't want that repeating
Yeah.
we don't want that to be repeated anymore. So they should be able to say this is we will only build alliance with countries that will prioritize technology transfer. So you don't come and take, you come and help build or capacity building in renewable energy. You negotiate trade agreement with countries that will help your country's energy interest. Basically, so yeah, and I think a lot of African countries are beginning to look into that as well. I'm originally from Nigeria, and I think the Nigerian government is doing that. Like you can't take minerals out of this country anymore.
Initiative.
You come, yeah, you come
Yeah.
and help us develop our renewable energy capacity in country. Yeah,
Yeah.
guys.
We thank you for sharing your insights during the webinar. Your expertise and perspective has definitely added immense value to this discussion, and we truly appreciate your time and contribution. Really, ma'am.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.